Why did Navalny go back to Russia knowing he might be killed? He believed what he was fighting for was worth dying for, and he proved it. He was willing to die for the cause he believed in. A lot of people are all talk. He showed that he wasn't loved for his country. He felt that rebelling against Putin was something worth giving his life for. He felt that he wasn't a credible opposition leader otherwise, and that if he wanted to encourage Russians to protest Putin in Russia, he should do the same. The same reason why Zelensky stayed in Kiev. The moment he permanently flees the country, he will be seen as a foreigner and lose a lot of credibility with the people. Putin's argument for a long time was that he and his movement is a creation puppet for the West. If he does flee, it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. How would his followers rise if he was cowering elsewhere? He martyred himself. Martyrdom is certainly a thing, because he had brass balls, because that's what actual patriotism looks like. Risking your own personal safety for the sake of your fellow countrymen and trying to make your home a better place. He knew there were risks, but he stood up for what he believed in and what he thought his country could become. Patriotism means a lot more than just saying, "Thank you for your service," and getting drunk on the 4th of July. I'm convinced he wanted to be a martyr. That's the only thing that makes sense. As soon as he said he was going back to Russia, I knew he would die in custody, and I'm just a lay person. No way he didn't know. He now went from being a man to being an idea. And you can't kill ideas. When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. There is no middle ground. Honestly, still surprised they killed him. Everyone knows they killed him. That only makes him a martyr now. It would have made more sense to keep him alive and roll him out once in a while to prove you could do whatever, to whomever. It was a gamble. When he arrived, his team also released the movie about Putin's palace and the investigation where they found the killers who poisoned him. I think they believed that the news of his arrest combined with all that would trigger a wave of protests big enough to topple Putin. There were big protests, but not big enough. And since then the government cracked down on the opposition hardcore. Basically every notable figure is now in jail or exile. I think he would have lost influence with the Russian people if he had stayed in Germany. Plus he was really brave. He went to prison and ultimately died for his beliefs and dreams of a less corrupt Russia. He knew his political power inside Russia would erode if he stayed as an activist abroad. If he stayed abroad, Putin would have won by keeping his biggest competitor outside of the country. If Navalny returned to Russia, there was a slim chance that it would cause more Russians to care about corruption, perhaps even enough to even remove Putin from office. Navalny didn't want to squander his political power by being afraid of what Putin might do to him. Navalny wanted Putin to be afraid of what might happen if Putin killed Navalny. According to an article by the New York Times, an activist who thrived on agitation, he feared irrelevancy in exile, winning new respect as he continued to lambast the Kremlin from behind bars cost him his life. With prison certain and death likely, why did Navalny return? https://www.newyorktimes.com/2024/020/1/7/world/europe/y-naval-to-russia.html *NY-NY-Android-share. He martyred himself for no reason. I feel terrible for the way he was treated. There was no reason for him to die in a Russian gulag. He should have stayed in Germany after he was poisoned and almost died. He could have done more for Russia by staying alive and calling out the brutality and corruption of Putin's regime from a safe distance. All his death accomplishes is to ensure every Russian is afraid of Putin. Martyrs are useful to promote a cause. It goes against the logic of self-preservation, but one cannot disregard its effect. Besides, it does not matter who killed him. As long as the waters are even a little muddy, the blame will go on Putin. A civil war is in the benefit of a lot of international entities. While one may think having Navalny out benefits Putin, which it does, but a muddy waters benefits international entities more if they can successfully stoke fires of a civil war. Anti-Putin Russians abroad can talk all they want on Western media until the cows come home. Although Skripal and Litvinenko, SP, might beg to differ, perhaps Navalny felt like his message might hit a lot harder by going home. Consequences be damned. Some people develop a martyr obsession. Joan of Arc, Greta Thunberg. People sometimes get super involved with causes to the extent where they risk their lives. There's typically speculated that an underlying mental illness is involved. He was suicidal.